of superheroes. Esports pioneers from Harrisburg University, Dr. Charles Palmer and Dr. Eric Darr, wowed our audience speaking about how their institution is building a program that sets the standard for collegiate esports and discussing the opportunities that student athletes and other professionals can take advantage of in that emerging field. What made STEM Carib unique as well was that it featured the work of budding scientists, engineers, by highlighting Rotary Science Fair winners. Poster-making competitions showcased the artistry, creativity, and innovative thinking of children from all 3 islands. UCCI has hosted family fun afternoons so that children as young as 7 or 8 could enjoy the demonstrations and exhibit to spark their interest in all things in STEM. We developed the STEM Ambassador Program, allowing deserving students to attend the conference at no cost and providing them with opportunities to network. One of the most important offshoots of STEM Carib is the STEM Summer Camp, which has been supported by Cayman Enterprise City since its inception. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we can all agree that this has been a truly remarkable journey. So, as we all enjoy today's event and the next 2 days of learning and discovery, I'd like us to thank the pioneers who laid the foundation for this becoming a landmark event in the Cayman Islands. Thanks to President Emeritus Dr. Roy Bodden, the late Dr. Bill Rudry, Ms. Crystal Sanchez, and the host of volunteers and speakers who worked with them through the years. We are happy to pass the baton to the new team led by President Robert Robertson. May they take STEM Carib to higher heights this year and beyond. We thank you all for joining us this morning and look forward to seeing you at the various sessions in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman McLean, for setting the context for this conference and for also helping trace the path to what brings us to this moment here this morning. Thanks again. It's now my pleasure to call up to the stage Acting Deputy Chief Officer, Mr. Jerome McCoy, to offer remarks on behalf of the Ministry of Education.
Good morning. Good morning. Nah, there's too many young people in this room for such low energy. Come on, get it up. Good morning. All right. All right, with protocol already being established, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, to our students. As the representative of the Ministry of Education, it is with great enthusiasm and a deep sense of commitment that I stand before you today. We at the Ministry are proud to affirm our unwavering support for the University College of the Cayman Islands and the 2023 STEM Carib Conference. And I personally am very excited to hear from the wonderful speakers throughout the conference. Education is the cornerstone. Education is the cornerstone of progress, and the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are at the forefront of that progress. They drive innovation, fuel economic growth, and hold the key to addressing many of the world's most pressing challenges. Our ministry believes in the power of education to transform lives and to propel the nation forward. This conference serves as a testament to the importance of STEM education and research in our ever-evolving world. It's not just a gathering of brilliant minds, it's a manifestation of our collective dedication to nurturing the next generation of innovators, problem solvers, and leaders. We are fully committed to fostering an environment where STEM education thrives, where educators have the resources they need, and where students are inspired to dream big and reach for the stars. The Minister of
Education in our efforts here. It's now my pleasure to call on the President and CEO of UCCI, Dr. Robert Robertson.
Morning, everyone. With protocol established, I just have a few welcoming remarks as we get started for our first day. I want to echo some of the comments, though, that were made by the chairman. STEM is increasingly important for the Cayman Islands and the future of work. So I want to put the conference, the 3 days, in context. But first of all, let me say that we're really delighted to be able to announce that over the next 3 days, we'll be welcoming more than 1,400 registered delegates to this event. 1,400. And as you heard, we're pleased to welcome some special guests from Turks and Caicos, the community college there, from CompTIA, from New England Tech. And one of the things you're seeing is that UCCEI is strategically looking for partners who can assist us in advancing our goals, student options, primarily with respect to the future of work and jobs, STEM. So I wanted to just point out that about 4 or 5 months ago, a paper was presented which was completed by the government, by UCCEI, and by the Chamber of Commerce. It's called a labor market assessment. Essentially, it looked at what jobs currently are in the Cayman Islands, and more importantly for the students, what jobs will we see in the next year, 2 years, and 3 years. And of course, based on what we've heard and said so far, it's about STEM. Those jobs will be in abundance. They are now, and they will continue to be, which is one of the reasons we partnered with CompTIA, for example, one of the world's leading providers of certifications in technology. If you can get a CompTIA certification in technology, you can get a job. They have a gold-plated standard. We offer their courses now, and we're delighted that they're here with us today. We have other courses similar to that, and that's one of the areas we're really focusing on. So STEM is really important for a variety of reasons, and you'll hear those over the next 3 days. I do want to take a moment to thank the organizing team for today's event. It takes a lot of work, and with 1,400 registered delegates, that is more work than we've ever had before. So you've heard about Antoinette Gale, who has been a stalwart with respect to the program for the last 5 or 6 or 10 years. Also Tracy Hargrave, who is the Dean of STEM, but also others behind the scenes. Elena Fear, who has put a lot of the organization together, and our moderator, Dr. Peter Paul. A lot of people have worked hard behind the scenes to make this happen, but students, this is really an opportunity for you to explore what job opportunities are out there and how we can help you to achieve your personal and your professional goals. So I wish you well over the next 3 days. You'll see many of us around. Please come up to us, ask us questions about how we can help you, and we're delighted to work with you to ensure that the economic future of the Cayman Islands remains sound. Thank you, and have a good session.
Thank you, Dr. Robertson. It's now time for our keynote address, and I have the very distinct honor of introducing our distinguished speaker for this morning. Born on our sister island, Cayman Brac, Dr. Martha Williams attended West End Primary School and Cayman Brac High School, obtaining her higher education in the United States with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Biology, a Master of Science in Chemistry, and a PhD in Polymer Chemistry. Dr. Williams is a PhD polymer scientist and inventor, currently serving as a senior technical advisor and a founding team member for Gen H2, a leader in liquid hydrogen infrastructure solutions for the emerging hydrogen clean energy economy. Dr. Martha's creative concepts, innovation, invention, technology integration, demonstration, and technology transfer expertise are part of her visionary part of her work. Dr. Martha is also NASA retired 29 years and served as the lead polymer scientist at the NASA Kennedy Space Center in Florida until 2018. She's a well-published author and an inductee into the NASA Inventors Hall of Fame with 20 patents, one of only 5 women on the 40 inductees list. Among her many awards and accomplishments, her full bio was in the invite, so I hope you'll have a chance to read it later. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Martha to the stage.
So I'll just make sure I stand close enough to the mic. Like Dr. Paul said, I am from Carib, and I want to share with you a little bit of my journey in STEM. And you'll see why I titled it From Rocks to Rockets and Beyond. And I think in the introduction you understood where I'm currently at, and I'm a retired NASA scientist. There's a saying I have, and I've used for years, is the journey is as valuable as the destination. A lot of times we want to get to the destination. As a young person, you know, when you're thinking about where you want to go, you want to get there quickly. And a lot of times the journey is as valuable and as exciting as the destination. Like, for example, when I was working with NASA, we would talk about going to Mars, and that might be multiple decades before you go there, but yet the journey is really valuable as you're learning stuff and going through that process. I have a kind of personal vision to my journey, and I've been really fortunate to be able to accomplish a lot and be able to experience this journey that I can share with you today. So I really want to make a difference in my work. I inspire, that's one reason I'm here today, is to share with you and hopefully inspire or leave some things that you can take from it as young people, as students, but also as professors or colleagues or anywhere that you might be in your area or your journey of STEM. I want to leave a legacy, bridging the generations. That's part of one reason I've done what I've done and mentored engineering and scientific students, innovation and technology gaps. The opportunities that I have to in my new position at the startup at Gen H2 and be able to look to the future. So there's always a beginning, and I am very proud to be a Bracker. And this is where my friends and I were talking multiple years ago, and we were talking about, you know, my working for NASA and going from Carib, and so we thought about this, about rocks to rockets, and it's a really catchy phrase. And maybe one of these days I'll write a book about it, but I think I'm too busy right now. But I want to share some of these really neat pictures of Carib and where it all began. On the left, you know, everybody, if maybe it's not all of you have been to the BRAC, but the bluff was really core, strong rock. The Barcadere in the middle is something that is very close to where I grew up. On the left, to the left of the blowholes, we enjoyed that. That's actually, a friend of mine took a picture of it now, but we spent so many years as a family just enjoying that environment and taking risks that now scare me of swimming through those blowholes, building rock walls. But I really wanted to say how much I appreciate that beginning. And I think as years have gone by, I really value that. So as you are here in the Cayman Islands and enjoying that beginning and enjoying this creative space, don't take it for granted, for sure, because it is a unique space, and I think I wouldn't be who I am today without having that beginning. So I probably needed to have a public release of some of these pictures that I'm sharing, but the reason why I wanted to share those is to kind of show that I have this rich family heritage, like many of you might have in the Cayman Islands, as I had this large family, supportive and creative parents. I am one of 6, the 4th child, right in the middle of the age group. And I have really great examples in older siblings. And on the top right, there is a picture of me with my mother and my 6 siblings and my maternal grandmother. And the person behind her, right over to the right, is myself. And the bottom right is a picture of the 4 siblings with my mother, and that's one reason it's one of my favorites to this day. It's in front of Faith Hospital, and my older sister, who is here today, ended up, all those years ago, we didn't know that journey for her either, that she ended up being a nursing supervisor. So again, this is kind of showing the extended family. And as I go into my talk, you will see that also it's not only just about family, but how do you extend that in your environment and your teamwork. And of course, the other pictures are about my daughters are in the one to the left, and some of my siblings and the cousins, and the one in the middle is the little tiny girl with the green dress is myself. And probably I made that, or one of my siblings made that. So again, I wanted to share that to help you understand that's kind of where I began and having to do and make things. And this is where, again, I moved to embracing and encouraging early creativity. There's a range of age groups of students here, and you will get to be creative in different times of your life. So really embrace that time. And I spent a lot of time with my siblings and friends building rock walls and dollies. I know that maybe that people don't do that as much now in the Cayman Islands as I did when I was growing up. Thatch playhouses, some of you all might be familiar. My parents, we had to build things. We put things together that had never been put together before to make things work. And then really, as I got older, I realized that was really part of my early inventive type process. And one of the other things that I know that I'm not sure where that stands now in some of the schools here, but we did a lot of we called it home economics. I'm not sure that's what they call it now, but like sewing and crafts and stuff. So that creative space was really important to my beginning and my thought process. Dr. Paul mentioned I went to Weston Primary, Kimmerbrook High School. I'd like to call out a couple of teachers there, Mr. Jimmy Ryan, Mr. Layman Scott. I don't necessarily want to list everybody because I probably would miss some, but I am really grateful to that early education and learning the basics really well. I think that's one of the things that, looking back, I realized that the education that I got in the Cayman Islands was really important to my success. And reading and writing and math is, education experience. I left Kimmerbrook at 15, went to the United States for 1 year to attend high school, and I stayed with a family, they took me in and made me a part of their family. They were relatives of some of the missionaries in Kimmerbrook. So I was able to get that 1 year of education and to be able to get an American diploma to go to college. My higher education, I think we already talked about that. One of the things that was really important there was how I felt really blessed to be able to get to go to college at such a young age and be able to, I was wanting to become a doctor. I was full speed ahead, like a lot of Caymanians. We were always trying to achieve. And 19, I graduated from college, and I was not American citizen. So there was a challenge in trying to decide to go to medical school in the West Indies versus England or the United States. And because I was not an American citizen, it was hard to get into the American medical system. Well, one of the things that I did, and the reason I want to bring this up is sometimes we think detours or sometimes things happen and we think it's not a good thing. And actually looking back, I really am appreciative of this. I call it a detour, but it's not really a detour, but it's part of my journey. So I wanted to share that and help you as students understand that sometimes it might not be a straight line in your journey, that it might be a kind of wiggly line, but that's good because all those experiences can be beneficial. So I worked in the banking industry, and it was very beneficial going forward, and it kind of changed the trajectory of my career. I decided to go back to graduate school for chemistry, and that really changed where instead of going into the medical school field, I went into chemistry. And to realize that when you think of STEM, sometimes they think it's a very narrow field, and yet it's a lot of opportunities out there that like one of the former speakers talked about. And I'm an example of that. I was a forensic chemist, I was a pharmaceutical chemist, I became American citizen, went to work for NASA for 10 years, did a lot of failure investigations with the shuttle program. And then NASA gave me the opportunity to go back and study for my PhD. And this is where I think I found really, all those jobs were exciting and I loved it and I learned from it, but I really found my lane in this creative space, be able to focus on research and inventions and solving problems. And it really became my happy place. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go into some of the slides. The other thing is I retired in NASA, like Dr. Paul mentioned, and then in 2020 I went to do a startup with a group of people and some of my friends and co-inventors, and I've been there 3 years. And I've even used some of my skills to volunteer at mission organizations and working in data analytics, which is really kind of outside my field, but working with computer science students and stuff like that. So again, there's all these opportunities out there, and I think even as if you're in mid-career, there is an opportunity to really spread your wings if you like that. I happen to be I like to be diverse. And this is where we go, and I think probably a lot of y'all want to know, is this whole to rockets thing. A lot of times people say, you're a rocket scientist. And I said, well, not really, but because I don't definitively design rockets, but I did get to be in this space of creativity and working with NASA for 29 years. And it was really an exciting opportunity. With that, I got to after I did my PhD, I got to found a polymer science and technology lab. So that's another thing, as you advance in your career or as you dream, you might be able to do things that you never thought you would do. So if it's not there, you can take the initiative to do it yourself. It's hard work, but you can do that. And so my research involves solving problems for NASA and for the current programs and then for the future. And it's very multidisciplinary areas that I worked in. That was by choice, and pulling teams together, it is a lot of hard work because you have to be aware of a lot of different areas. Like one of the areas that I continue to work in is the cryogenics and low temperature material systems. And I'll talk a little bit more about the damage detection, the self-healing. So as you can see, there's a diversity of research team members, and I think Dr. Paul again mentioned about being inducted into the NASA Inventors Hall of Fame. Some of this it's hard to continue to talk about my accomplishments, but I want to share that I think that's what Dr. Gale wanted me to share is my journey and how the process and how I did that. So again, it was a dream job, I would say. NASA, it's a lot of challenges, a lot of hard work, stresses, but I got to do things that most people don't get to do, and I am very appreciative of that. Some of you are familiar with the Hubble telescope pictures, and I was involved in investigations with that. Return to flight, the Columbia accident, things like that I was able to do that. And I wanted to mention self-healing and damage detection technologies, because sometimes in science we try to mimic what nature does really well in materials or a technology. And self-healing systems is like where it seals itself. So basically, we develop materials that are then patented for long duration missions where you wouldn't be able to maybe repair something and it can heal itself. There's other NASA centers also working on that still in a Mars simulation habitat demonstration unit program. So one of the big things I think I've been talking about and experience and share, and I think we talked about it at the EY conference last year when I was here, is women in STEM. And I think y'all, again, was brought up earlier and before, in the shared prior to my coming up here, is that I've experienced that and I want to address it, talk about the challenges, but also some of the things that are positive in that. It's a mostly male-dominated field. I remember being in some conferences that, maybe 200 men and only several women. Fortunately, at NASA, the ratio is better, and I think that I'm excited to see that the Cayman Islands are really encouraging women to be involved in STEM. The fact that there's 3 women as the keynote speakers, I think in the next 3 days, that's really exciting. So there's inherent challenges to being a woman. Like, for example, a dad is challenging too. But like in my situation, I was a mother too, a wife. I had a demanding job, and and especially during my doctoral studies. So those are some of the things that you have to deal with. I think I talked a little bit about that, if any of y'all were at the EY conference, about some of the unique challenges maybe come from the small island. When you go in this global or national environment, you're exposed to people from the Ivy League schools. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, so you're competing and working within that environment. But I would say that coming from the Cayman Islands prepared me for a lot of that, because a lot of my teachers were from a lot of different international, or at least from Trinidad or Barbados or Jamaica or something like that, or UK and the US. So I was exposed to that diversity early. And that the positive thing I would say about that being in a male-dominated community or field is that I was able to really, again, be diverse and go and invent and collaborate with multiple disciplines, like in cryogenics and electronic engineering, mechanical, software. So again, if you look at it just as a challenge instead of an advantage, then you might, I guess the advice I would say is take it also as a plus and an advantage and embrace that. And some of the opportunities, talked about this already. I was able to mentor a lot of engineers and students, and I continue to do that. One of the reasons I want to talk about this, the picture, is this is a example of really collaborative with universities, Florida Solar Energy Center and NASA, and able to come collaboratively and do a hydrogen sensing technology, and it was recognized. And now I'm coming full circle that some of these patents and licenses that are technologies that we developed over the years are now being licensed by the startup company that I'm currently working with. And this is, again, embracing those opportunities. Work really hard. For those of you students, if you're going to go in STEM, I think would be prepared to work hard. But it's a really exciting and a fun space to be in, creative. I think I talked about the taking advantage of that, embracing the challenges, believing in a vision and a mission, teamwork from different disciplines, and just really make that a community or space that you can be creative in. So I want to talk about innovation. It's a term used for not just scientists and engineers. It crosses a lot of fields, but I think and especially in STEM, it's really important to be innovative and think innovation. Where there are different kinds. There's disruptive, incremental, sustaining, radical. Probably the area that I'm working in right now is in liquid hydrogen. Is more that it could really change the trajectory of some of the clean energy future. So those are some of the different types of spaces of innovation, and I think if you like that space, encourage that, develop that. It's not a job description, because not all, and also know when you need to think inside the box, then you are able to make things that maybe you never thought would happen. You can make things happen. That's basically, I think that I would, a theme that I would encourage you to think about. And I think I mentioned that it's not just for people like me, but across the spectrum of different types of fields. So innovation, I think, is a driving force for STEM and for the country, for the Cayman Islands, for the United States, and for across the world. Light bulb moments. Again, that goes on to with innovation. This is a term that my boss, my colleague, my current boss, we worked together 20-something years. We use this term a lot. So it kind of something that it's like a light bulb going off, something that you might not have thought about before. You're putting pieces of a puzzle together. Even as a young person, you can do that. You can see where maybe somebody had not thought about putting something together that is before, and you think, oh, I can maybe do that. So it doesn't have to wait till you are advanced in your career. Be disruptive in your thinking. That's in a positive way. Light bulb moments many times come from different viewpoints. My boss and I have different perspectives, but they're complementary. You have to have a lot of respect with that too, and be able to appreciate each other's viewpoints. Embracing change is important, evolving. I still, at my age, I have to learn almost something new every day. And I think that's being willing to do that as a young person, as a mid-career person, as early career, and even, like I said, I have to do that every day. So I think I would encourage you to accept change and enjoy change. Some people don't like that, but I think in this area, I think it's important to to embrace that. And now on beyond. This is what I'm currently working in. We are liquid hydrogen, and it's a premier energy carrier, and we have the term liquid hydrogen can be used for the energy carrier for the future for lots of different applications, and as I go into some of the slides, you'll see that. And we have trademarked the term liquid electricity, so it is basically you can electrify things, or electrification, by using liquid hydrogen. And these are, you can go on our website, and I have some handouts if anybody wants some at the end of the presentation. So we are putting liquid hydrogen to work for the clean energy future. And I think you can, maybe you can see here, it says, sorry. You can see that the journey begins. And as I was putting together this presentation, I've been talking about this journey even before I went to Gen H2, and I clicked and thinking, oh, there's another continued journey. So journey is a good word for myself, and if you want to adapt that as you go through your school and college and career, that's a good thing. I like this slide. A lot of the CEO and a lot of the company leadership use it in presenting about Gen H2 as kind of futuristic, so I like that. We are focused on liquefaction. Basically, hydrogen is a gas, and if you liquefy it at very low temperature, so our focus is in providing liquid hydrogen, how to store that, and that's the challenges of that, and also how to transfer that, and we're working in a space of that. One of the things that I wanted to bring in also is a full circle moment is that we were able, Gen H2 was able to do a record number of NASA patents, and several or multiple of those are actually my boss and myself are inventors of those, not because we chose those because we were inventors, but because of the space we were working in. So again, I'll use a scientific term, patents or technologies by NASA developed. You can lower the energy of activation. It's not technically, but basically if you use that term, it allows you to go to market earlier. So it's really an opportunity to be full circle and use the work that's been done by NASA to enable and to help like startups and companies like Gen H2. So we're a leader in next generation technologies. I think that's another thing that that is an anthem of mine is next generation. A lot of the technologies that I've been working on for years at NASA was next generation. So think about that as you're going through your school. What is now, but also what's to come. And I think it was discussed earlier about what, in the coming years, 5 to 10 years. And we will provide the first effective solution for these small, medium, and some large-scale liquid infrastructure systems, and mass produce those. And I think this is some of the things that y'all might be more want to know what we're using liquid hydrogen for. It's like trains, not maybe here, but long-haul trucks, heavy-duty vehicles, commercial jet aircraft, electric-powered aircraft, ships, and stuff like that. So liquid hydrogen is an emergent market, but it has diversity. And I think that y'all are looking a lot at sustainability here, also in the Cayman Islands. I don't know if liquid hydrogen is on the radar or not, but I know that sustainability and renewable energies is also in that space. So this is kind of circling back again, leaving a legacy. This is kind of myself and my husband, who later became this is me at 16 years old, and my husband, what became my husband, 9 years later, and this is some pictures about kind of the legacy that I'm hoping to leave. The making waves making waves. 2022, my brother and my younger sister were able to accept that award for me, and I just want to let people know that you can do this. You can go from a small island like Kimmebrack and go to NASA. But also, you don't have to go to NASA. You can make the difference here, and you can really make a difference for generations to come. So I want to leave behind technologies. I want to let people know that, or I guess, how would I say this? I want to know that people knew I was here. I have a spiritual belief about all that, but also a technological belief about that. So I really have a lot of gratitude and willingness to be appreciative that I've had this journey, but also leave some of that nuggets to other people, and that's why I'm here today talking to you about this. So again, vision. I think that's been a theme that I've talked about today. Dream big. Again, I think that's also a theme. Embrace what you're good at. Let your education, talents, and skills be used to make a difference, inspire others. It might be a journey that you could not have even imagined. And I would say that about myself. I don't think as a 16-year-old when I left to go to college, I ever thought I'd be, standing here today and sharing this journey with you. So I appreciate that. We can all have a vision, from children, not necessarily, there's some younger students here, but you can really embrace that journey and have a vision for yourself, but also older, like me. I still dream, and I still have a vision for where I want to go, and I think that's still important to the world of STEM and sharing and passing on generational knowledge. So I think that if all of us can have a vision for ourselves, but also communally, and as a team, as a college, as a working space, I think that's important, and you can really accomplish a lot. And this is kind of coming to the end of my presentation. I'm not sure if I've ran out of time or not, but these are some of the recommendations, maybe some nuggets that I'd like you can take away from the talk. Consider options to expand and beyond your disciplines or works of studies. I really, I've encouraged students and young engineers to look at things like business and finances but project management to kind of broaden your scope of in science and engineering. I don't know about the Cayman Islands. I think that if they have internship opportunities, see if you can do that. Find your lane of passion for your work. I've talked about thinking outside the box and appreciating others' talents and skills, being a team player. Those are some of the nuggets I would say that are important. Embrace creativity, innovative approach. My talk is learn to fly. I have a spiritual point of view about that, but it's also how do you spread your wings and enjoy the journey and enjoy the career that you have chosen and enjoy the journey process. It's really been an exciting time, scary at times, hard, challenging, but also very grateful and feel very blessed that I've been able to do that and enjoy that. This I don't know, from the time I went to college, about 50 years, and so it's been a grateful time, and now as I'm coming closer to the end of some of that journey, I'm very appreciative that I got to do this and get to share with people like you today, and I hope that you've been excited about some of the things you've heard and maybe be able to apply some of those little nuggets to your journey. And this, I think if I'm not over time, if you have questions, this is a picture of the left is one at NASA, and the second one is at myself, as my new, not mine, but our new company in Titusville. So, and thank you, and if there are any questions. Okay.
I'll just announce it. Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. That was truly inspirational and information-laden and very practical as well. So thank you for that. I'm sure there are questions from the floor. We have about 10 minutes. We have my colleague, Mr. Ashdown, with the roving mic, who please raise your hands, and we have time for 10 minutes of questions and Q&A. We've got one starting here on the left.
Hello. Obviously, I'm not a high school student here. Question, did I see that you were a mom on one of the NASA missions? Were you the mom for the Hubble repair?
No, I did the analysis of first several of the repair missions.
Okay, well, there's a mom that looks a lot like you.
Yeah.
Hi, Martha. Fascinating and very influential for all of us. My question is about what you're doing now with the liquid hydrogen. Mm-hmm. And if you could briefly explain the benefits of storing the hydrogen in liquid form rather than gas.
Okay. Well, in liquid form, it doesn't take up as much space. So it's densified, and you don't have to have it, if you get it at really cold temperatures, which is like 20 Kelvin, you don't have to have the pressure that you need, like on that, storing it as gas. So basically, then it flows like water. And that's one of the terms that my boss talks about a lot and or uses that term. So yes, liquid hydrogen, if it's easier to control, and that's part of the technologies we're working in, is how to control that using refrigeration and transfer and make it able to do what you want it to do. So yes, the difference is that it's cold. It's colder. You don't have to pressurize it much, and then the density and its space, big difference in space. And we have some statistics there that if you had to store, like it in a gaseous form, it's like huge space versus a liquid.
Hi, are there any consequences that liquid hydrogen could possibly have?
And what do you mean by that?
Like any disadvantages?
Disadvantages?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that we say, I think when you hear liquid or hydrogen, people get sometimes scared. Control that and make sure that you operate in those parameters. Because if you were exposed, like for example, you're not going to want to stick your hand in it, although it flows like water. So, did that answer your question or no? Yes, somebody.
Yeah, thanks for a great presentation. It's really interesting. As we all know, electric vehicles have taken over the last year or two. And I've always been kind of fascinated with the hydrogen, but it's really never taken off. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, there are a couple of, I think, Toyota has a hydrogen fuel cell car, and that's one of the things that's some of the things that we're looking at is how do you, and there are, let me back up a little bit. California has hydrogen fueling stations in California. Europe has some, and you're right, it's lagging behind some of the electric cars. But one of the things is that we're looking at, and it probably will as the market catches up with itself, is that actually hydrogen can also be the one that runs the battery, because we call it and I don't want to get too technical, but you have a fuel cell, but really it's a battery. They call it a fuel cell. So some of those are some of the things we're looking at and working with companies, and one of the areas right now is probably truck-in, air travel, rail are some of the areas that are probably going to take off more quickly than the cars. And if I wasn't exposed in IP, intellectual property, I could tell you some of the ideas about some of the other things that you asked about. But if you come talk to me, I can kind of probably give you some ideas about that.
How does hydrogen power these vehicles?
Pardon? Where?
How does hydrogen power these vehicles?
Yeah, it is a hydrogen fuel cell. Right now, the current hydrogen cars, so it goes into a fuel cell, and it's actually bioelectric. So it's a hydrogen fuel cell.
What is your favorite and least favorite part about working in NASA?
The not favorite part? Let's see. I would say that I guess it was always a lot of work. I worked a lot. So I don't know if that's not a favorite, but it was a lot of hard work. And but I think it was more favorite than not favorite. And I think one of the things that never got old is seeing the launches go off. I think NASA gave me a space to kind of express myself and really enjoy the creative space of who I was. And I think that's probably the favorite thing. And also the colleagues and the relationships I built that are still friends, and especially my co-inventors and my co-workers.
Good morning, Dr. Williams, and thank you so much for sharing your journey. It was really fascinating. The point that struck me was the middle way, well, not really the middle, but more at the beginning, where you were on a pre-med trajectory. Then you took 2 years to work in banking. How important do you think those 2 years were in terms of where you eventually ended up?
Yeah. At the time, I didn't like that because I was going to go to medical school in 3 years. I did college in 3. I was going to go to medical school, be a doctor, come back here to work. But again, I was very young. If I knew what I knew older, I probably could have navigated my way to medical school. But again, I don't think the Cayman Islands was I think they didn't have all the resources that we have now here. But I think the reason why it was so valuable, I don't think I realized till later, because it gave me it was not only changed the trajectory of my career, but it also the knowledge and the business side and understanding that, because in science and engineering, you really have to also have a very business sense. And I probably use my business sense as much now as I use my scientific and my engineering skills. So I think at the time, I'll honest, I thought, I don't want to do this, but I think it was time. It was a good time, and it also let me kind of catch up. In a sense, I went to college so young, and I had to mature so. A dream you have might be a different dream, and sometimes it's better. So, yeah. Okay.
What inspired you to start using the hydrogen?
Well, One of the primary founders of GenH2 is a cryogenic engineer, and he's been working with hydrogen for years, and so I went to work with him. Liquid hydrogen is probably, like I said in the presentation, it's a premier energy carrier. So we're, the U.S., the world is looking for next generation fuels, or I would say an energy carrier. So hydrogen is one that we have worked with at NASA a lot, and we're familiar with that and learned a lot, and that technology has helped us kind of understand the value and how we can apply it to this situation. I don't know if that answers your question or is it too long.
Why did you get the job at NASA and how?
Okay. Yeah, so my husband was at the time was working for the contractor. He was working on the external tank, and I was living really close to the Space Center, but I was not American citizen. So I couldn't go to work for NASA, and I was applying for the contractors. And I became a citizen, and 2 weeks later, I went to work for NASA. So it was, the opportunity was there. I was in the vicinity. My husband worked at the Space Center, and so I applied for it once I got my citizenship. I was talking to them, NASA, before, but I knew that they basically told me until I couldn't be hired until I became a citizen. Yes?
So, ma'am, thank you first for coming. You say that the hydrogen can be used for vehicles, so like aircraft, correct?
Yes.
My question is, it's a lot less dense than like refined kerosene. So I'm wondering how that works with storing it and how much power you'd need to keep it cool in the liquid state while in the air.
Yeah.
So if you could shed some light, thanks.
Yes, there's companies, aircraft companies like Airbus and Serial Avia, and actually we have partnered with them on different situations. They're looking at liquid hydrogen and some of their requirements. That would be probably on board. And I know some of these answers sound complicated, but it's not just GenH2 looking at that. There's the aircraft companies are doing studies to investigate the best way to use liquid hydrogen for fuel in their aircraft. So it's like, for example, and I don't want to get in, like kerosene, like SpaceX uses kerosene, but that's a one-use situation. So the thing is, hydrogen allows you a lot of, we call it a closed loop. It's a circular thing that hydrogen can fuel the fuel.
So just a word of thanks to Dr. Williams from Rocks to Rockets. Was a fascinating presentation to start us off today. As Dr. Williams indicated, if you can find your passion and then just use the old Nike saying, just do it. What a wonderful presentation, and thank you very much for starting us off.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll get my computer.
Okay. And just a reminder, by the way, we're waiting for that book. Make sure you get that book out. That'll be great. Thank you all.
Thanks again, Dr. Williams. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. We've come to the conclusion of this plenary session this morning. We are moving on to the workshop. The locations are listed again in your registration. If you need help, there are a couple of my colleagues at the registration desk. See you at 10:20.